Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today, I'm very happy to bring back our ninth and final panel of Mystical Mothers for 2025, Nina the Mystic and Jennifer Halcame. For those of you who are not familiar, let me tell you a little bit about them. Nina was born and raised in Norway, but moved to Canada as a young adult to be with family. While growing up, Nina had several spiritual experiences, including sleep paralysis for the first 42 years of her life, but it disappeared when she left Christianity and started to study the occult. Nina makes YouTube videos and offers private sessions for those who seek spiritual advice and guidance. See her website below for more information. She works as a mystic, but spends a lot of time being a truth seeker, combining all of her knowledge to teach and grow with others, which has become a passion for her. Jennifer Halcame is a certified Reiki master teacher, healer, life coach, and psychic intuitive with over 30 years' experience. She is dedicated to helping others heal and align with their true path. Today, we do an exploration into the subject of SHEROES I have known and how these amazing women affected and inspired our lives. All of the links are featured below in the description. Please do check me out, subscribe to my channels, leave me a comment, like my videos, and share my content with your friends. I'm very happy to let you know that you can now join my YouTube channel so you can take advantage of my perks and help to support the show. So without further ado, bring on Jennifer and Nina. Hi, how you guys doing?
Wonderful. How are you, Karen?
I'm good. I got nothing to complain about. Even if I did, nobody would listen.
Yeah, things are good. Things are good.
Yeah. I'm staying in quite a lot because it's pretty cold and snowy here. And it's funny, it'll say it's 16 below zero, but then I look and with the wind chill, it's like 35 degrees. But this is Celsius, so it's different system. So in Celsius, 0 is freezing and 100 is boiling. So it's a little bit different, but it's still bloody cold. Bloody cold. So I'm staying in, making podcasts and figuring out how to turn AI to be my internet slave. We'll see how that goes. So today we're going to talk about SHEROES, and I call SHEROES. They're basically heroes, but I put an S in front because they're female. And a lot of people don't realize how many heroes walk among us, or SHEROES, I should say. And I wanted to bring you two ladies on so we could discuss some of your own experiences and also my experiences, trying to make sense of them because they're pretty wild. So I know, Jennifer, did you have why don't you start by telling people where they can find you? I think that's a good thing because we've all had a little bit of changes. Nina, you're part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network now. You're doing shows with Robert. Jennifer, you don't have a YouTube channel, but people can still reach to you. So why don't you guys just share a little bit about your offerings before we get started?
If anyone wants to find me, you can find me on Facebook under Jennifer Halcome. And I am pretty easy to find with my Gmail account is jenniferhalcome@gmail.com. You're more than welcome to either message me on Facebook or email me if you would like to see if I can help you out.
Awesome. And Nina?
Yeah, I'm also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram under at Nina the Mystic 68. So you can find me there. You can always DM me up on the social media, or you can email me again, Nina the Mystic 68@gmail.com. If you need any spiritual support, or if you would like to be a guest on our show, we do accept guest appearances. So just email me if you would like to do that. So yeah.
Awesome. 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 So do either one of you want to start by sharing one of your experiences, or should I roll out one of mine?
Let's start with yours.
Okay. So mine are pretty unbelievable, but I swear to God, they are absolutely 100% true. But like many things in my life, it's, a lot of people go, no, that can't be real because it shakes up their paradigm. So I'm going to start by telling you about Linda. Okay, so I moved to this little island. I'm not going to give too many specifics because I want to respect Linda's privacy. And here I am talking about her without her permission, but it's such a great experience. To this little island, population less than 800 people. And one day, and you have to take a ferry to get to this little island. So one day I'm on the ferry, and there's a woman on the ferry and her husband. Both are blind. But Linda comes up to me. I'd never met her. I didn't know what to expect. And she started scrutinizing me about a quarter of an inch away from me. So her face was like a quarter of an inch away from me. And she was scanning my face, touching it a little bit, touching my body, looking like a quarter inch away. Obviously, she's blind, right? She wasn't trying to be rude. She wanted to see who I was because, they would get a lot of strangers in the area. And it was unnerving, but at the same time, I understood she had a good intention and she just was super curious and wanted to know who I was and what I looked like. So I talked to her a little bit. And then we get into town on this little island, say our goodbyes, and then I didn't see her for about 3 weeks. So in this little town, there is a 1 block long, which would be considered downtown. It's got a hotel, it's got a store that sells a little bit of everything. It's got a hardware store. It's got everything which is on a street with, little shops on either side, and that was it. One day, I'm in town, hear somebody scream, "Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out of the way!" And I look up. I don't know, did that come through my mic? Sometimes it cancels when I get too loud. Here's the same blind woman flying into town on a bicycle. She couldn't see. I mean, even to see me, she was a quarter of an inch away and touching me and all that to try to see me. The woman was blind, but she rode her bicycle every day into town and just yelling, "Get out of the way, get out of the way." So people on the street would jump off the way so she could, come into town. And then she would put her feet down and stop her bike and go wherever she was going. So I just thought it was the most bravest thing I had ever seen. That, Linda didn't let things like social norms of politeness get in her way to getting to see me and know me. She didn't let anybody tell her what she couldn't do because she was blind. She just did whatever she wanted to do. And so I just thought I would share that as my first experience because she was definitely a hero to me. The woman couldn't see. She rode her bike. Well, how she did it, but she would ride her bike into town every day, and it was just I thought it was really cool. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that, but sometimes when we're not told what we can and cannot do, we push it, Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you guys have
good
any
for her.
comments on that?
Good for her for just going and just doing it. I would feel sorry for her if somebody didn't hear her, though. Maybe there's somebody that's deaf in front of her who doesn't hear her screaming. That would be quite the scene. But oh,
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that story. I love that story. Yeah, I agree with you. When you're not told you can't do something, then you got to try and do it. You have to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so do you want to hear another one that's pretty cool too?
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I had a mother-in-law once. Yeah, I was married once. Yeah. Well, anyway, say too much about that. But I had probably the worst mother-in-law you could ever ask for. She was nasty. She was mean. She did everything she could to go out of her way to make me feel uncomfortable, unwanted. I didn't realize before I married the man that she relied on him to be her social, okay, this is really weird, but I'll just say it, her social escort. So she would not, her son, who was my husband, was not allowed to tell anyone that he was her son. So everyone thought she was out on a date with a younger man. I mean, the woman, let's not comment on that. But she was really nasty. And then when she realized that I wanted to spend New Year's Eve with my husband and he wouldn't be taking her to parties and stuff anymore, she was really knuckled down and she was awful. Okay, enough about trashing my former mother-in-law. She's dead now, so I don't care if she hears me. So fast forward along, and this is after her son and I were divorced and he was remarried. She's trying to pull a belt out of her closet and she yanks on this thing and the buckle comes flying out and whacks her in the forehead and she passes out and she wakes up in the hospital. Well, it turns out she whacked herself in the head so hard she caused herself to have an aneurysm or like a stroke. And she was really fucked up, pardon my language. Like one eyebrow was up here and the other one was down here, and she couldn't remember anything. She didn't know who she was. Like she was really fucked up. Now, the good side of this is it damaged the bitch center of her brain. And after that, she became the nicest woman I ever met. Amazing. But this story that I'm going to tell you is even more amazing. So here she is. She's in, I think it's called GH Strong. It's it's a place in Vancouver, Canada, that rehabilitates people that have had brain injuries and really serious stuff happened to them, and veterans returning from war and all that. That's how bad she was. She was in that hospital. One day, she just gets the urge to get dressed and to go outside. It's boring in there. Who wants to lie in a hospital bed every day? And she was on some long-term recovery. So she gets dressed and she goes out and she kind of likes it and she notices there's a bus stop. And she goes, it's interesting. Had no idea how to take a bus, how to do anything. The woman didn't even know her name. That's how much brain injury she had. She goes back in the hospital. Next day, she gets dressed. She finds some change in her drawer. She goes out, waits for the bus. The bus comes and she gets on the bus. And she just rides it all the way around the whole circuit till it returns her to the hospital. And she gets off and she goes back inside. She's kind of digging this freedom, eh? Nurses, they don't even know she's gone. Like nobody even knows she's doing this. So within about a week, she gets on the bus. She gets off at this high-rise apartment building. She has no idea who lives there, why she's getting off there, but she just kind of felt akin to this building, but she couldn't explain why. After a little while, another bus came and she got on and she went back to the hospital. Nobody knew. Okay, so this is continuing. One of these times, she gets off the bus at this apartment building. She reaches in her pocket. She realizes she's got a key and she knows it's to one of these units in this apartment building. It's a huge high rise. But she gets on the elevator and she gets off and she tries a few doors and eventually one of the doors works and she goes in and she knows she's at home, but she doesn't recognize anything. So she starts going home every day, making herself a cup of tea, having a snack, putting her feet up, enjoying her house, gets up a little later, goes back to the hospital. Well, one day, the nurses found out she was missing and they were all in a big flap about it. And when she came back, she told them what she had been doing. And she was the fastest recovering stroke slash aneurysm patient they had ever seen. They had never seen anyone recover as fast as she did. And once they found out what she was doing, they altered her her treatment plan and stuff, and they started working with it. But that blew me away. That woman is a hero to me, a shero, a genuine shero, because she went with her intuition. She had no cognitive ability to suss any of this stuff out, but she knew what she wanted to do, and damn if anyone was going to stop her, and she did it. And so that was a tremendous inspiration for me, not to mention the fact that how the nastiest woman I ever met became one of the nicest, and it just blew me away. Anyway, I'm just wondering if you guys, I'm going to check the chat and say hi to a couple people. I don't know if I said hi yet. Of course, Denise, my amazing moderator, Vam Skyder is here, Hillbilly Herb is here, and Hillbilly says, wow, amazing. She was going home taking breaks from the hospital. Yes, exactly. It's the wildest thing I ever heard. And that's why I wanted to do this show today, to show you guys, what's possible. And I don't recommend this. And this is not medical advice in any shape or form. But anyway, so just wondering if my guests, Nina and Jennifer, have anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That that she recovered that fast, for one, and that she followed her intuition exactly like you said. I mean, just following that knowing, and that's kind of what we do in the spiritual community is, we don't know, but we do know. You know what I mean? Like, so, actually, Arwin Steyer was talking about, humans that we come in here with amnesia and we don't remember anything, but we do. Something we just know because we somehow remember it from before, so that's kind of sort of the same thing except more on the physical level here, but that's great. It's good to hear that she went from bad to good and not the other way, because usually that's how it is. All of a sudden, I remember my grandma too, when she had a stroke, her personality changed.
Yes, often it does.
Yeah, not that she was nasty, but she was just a little bit different than what she was. Yeah. So, well, that was cool. Very cool.
I love that. It is quite a wonderful thing to have a mother-in-law that goes from nasty to kind, and that's so beautiful, because I think it's a secret wish of most of us that we can get those nasty mother-in-laws to come around and be kind. But yeah, I think that's amazing that she was able to recover so fast and be herself, simply because she followed her intuition, and that caused the little neurons in her brain to connect back. And this is who I am, and this is where I live, and I think it's awesome that she followed that.
Yeah, she was one of those people where she used to belong to some kind of religion where they taught much of the things that we're learning today, like about manifesting and about spirits and channeling and all of that. Back in those days, I was a Jehovah's Witness. That stuff freaked me right out, to be honest with you. It took me a long time to thaw out from that whole programming scenario, get where I'm at today, where I'm not afraid and I'm open to everything. So in some ways she was very advanced. I think that helped her too, her attitude and the way she saw things. And that was really pretty amazing. I have one more story, but I'm wondering, Nina or Jennifer, do you want to talk about anybody in your life? I don't want to hog up the whole show here. I could, but I don't want to be rude. I want to give you a chance. I want to hear what you have to say. Sorry, it's not coming out right today.
I do, but Nina, you go ahead.
Well, I don't have a lot of sheroes, I guess, as far as, being a hero that I can think of, other than my grandmother, I would say, my parents didn't take their parenting role too serious. Let's put it that way. They were the typical boomers, who just was born into prosperity. Everything was just going great. And it was all about party time. a lot of drinking and partying and just whooping it up, a typical boomer as such, you know what I mean? So the whole parenting and that sort of thing, it didn't last too long. So grandma more or less had to take over, they were living in a one-bedroom den, essentially. It's what it is called today. Back then in Norway, it was a one-bedroom and the maid's room is what it was considered back then. That was actually a luxury apartment. And you would have 10 to 12 kids in there. That was quite normal. So the lady downstairs had 12. My grandma only had 3, but where they slept, I don't know. So it's basically the mattresses on the floor, I guess. Like nobody had their own room or any of that. So, grandma did what she could. She had, when my parents first got together and got married, they actually gave them their bedroom and they moved on to the pull-out couch and let my mom and dad have the bedroom. And that's where I was born. And then later on, they moved to Canada and they split up and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's, and then we came back and later on ended up on grandma's couch again, because dad just wasn't up to the task. So, I got to watch her, and she was a typical older generation, where grandpa had a little bell, a little dinner bell, and grandma would come running, So I basically,
wow.
oh yeah, like grandma never got to retire. Right, grandma's always doing everything. I was just thinking about that before the show.
Yeah.
She did absolutely everything. If it wasn't for her, there wouldn't be anything. There would be no family, no nothing. Like putting on Christmas, that's all grandma. Grandpa doesn't do anything, So I never really had a good role model that way, in a sense, you know what I mean? Like I remember my brother and I playing house. That meant my brother just sat there basically and I did everything. So I guess I still have role model that from my grandma, seeing her do everything and literally taking over parenting from their kids and raising us.
Oh, you cut out on us, Nina. Did she cut out on you too, Jennifer? Yeah. Maybe you just want to either go out and come back in or see if it'll clear and then say that again. Sorry if I'm interrupting you. I can't tell because I'm not getting any. Are you hearing music, Jennifer?
I am. Digital breaking up music. Well, if you want, I can go ahead and tell my story while she's working that out.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I would have to say my biggest female shero and role model, lucky enough, was my mom. She was one of the most amazing women I'd ever met. And she gave me courage to really go out and explore what it was I am and where I belong in this world. When I was the youngest and the only girl. And when I was 5, she decided to go back to college and she got her bachelor's and her master's in psychology, child psychology.
Awesome.
And went on to head up the child and adolescent program of the state mental hospital, of which she truly enjoyed helping children that would not have gotten help otherwise. And she was a true champion of the underdog, so to speak. She was always drawn to the kids that were the underdogs. And she just was such a beautiful soul and showed me that where there's a will, there's a way. She did it with 3 kids and 3 jobs and managed to keep a 4.3 GPA all the way through it. I never met anyone who was as dedicated as she was. We called her the goddess of children because
awesome.
It never failed that she would be right there, champion for whoever. And it didn't matter if she knew the kid or not. If she saw something going on, she would definitely step up. And, she always had an open couch and an open kitchen. And we were always allowed to bring friends over and have them You know, whether it was I need a place to sleep because my parents kicked me out, or I don't have
Mhm.
a family, so I have nowhere to go for Christmas. Um,
Mhm.
she was always the first one to step up and go, "Come on over, I got you." And for me, that was a beautiful thing,
It
truly.
is. It really, really is. I can identify with both your experience and Nina's. Um, um, my parents, well, I had kind of two lives. I had my life before my mother remarried to my stepfather, and he was her handler. Long story short, he was her handler. Before that, though, she ran wild and she was not a good mother. That's how we ended up in foster care. And, but throughout the years looking back, it was the grandmothers that would send money to help with the turkey at Thanksgiving. It was grandmothers who were always kind. It was grandmothers who never shamed me or made me feel bad about who I was. And it was, so I didn't have the loving mother, but I became the loving mother. And I think you'll be able to relate to this, where all the time my kids were going to school, they would bring home these little waifs who had been locked out of the house, kicked out of the house. Their parents had no money to give them for lunch, nothing. And I would make, even if I had, because we didn't have any money, I was a single parent. But I would make them peanut butter and jam sandwiches. I'd let them come and stay. And I had probably 4 or 5, maybe more kids who were like unofficial foster kids that came and stayed with me, and they still call me mom today. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I'm going to cry, because they needed someone to love them, and I just took them in. So I could totally relate to you,
Mhm.
and I could totally relate to Nina. Oh, good, Nina, you're back. We missed you. I was just telling Jennifer. Jennifer was talking about her mom being her shero, and you were talking about your grandmother. And I could relate to both of you. My parents were like yours, Nina, and so I ended up, and my brother and I, in foster care. And the only ones that really gave me anything to hang on to that I can look back on was the grandmothers. I didn't get diddly squat from the grandpas. I don't even remember them even having time to talk to me, but the grandmothers, absolutely. And then, as I was telling Jennifer and our audience, I became the good mother. So I became the mom who, my kids would bring home these little waifs, and I'd let them stay because they'd been locked out or they'd been kicked out. This is kind of probably TMI, but even by the time my daughter was, around 12 years old, she was bringing home kids after school asking me to explain sex to them. How could they keep from getting pregnant? The girls that had already been acting out sexually, they were terrified that they were going to be pregnant, and like they had nobody to explain. Like you would think, oh, at school they would know. They did a crap job of explaining, and nowadays they do too much explaining. But that was another story, and I would literally set a board and do diagrams. This is your this is your that, this is your parts of your lady bits, this is how you take care of yourself. Like no one else was doing it. So, and then I got branded by the Pentecostal moms as being a Satan worshiper, and they wouldn't let their kids come over anymore. But I thought, well, at least I did the best I could with them.
Mhm.
So
So you were the shero for them then.
for them, I was, yeah. And even right up until they were grown up, even they still call me mom. One of them, when I moved out to Alberta, I gave her my car because she needed one. And I figured I'd pick up another one, and then I never did, but that's another story. I just want to quickly check in with the chat. Denise says, Nina, your dog is really paying attention to what you're saying. So cute.
That must be
Probably means
Jennifer's dog because I don't
Jennifer. Yeah.
have.
Yeah, Jennifer has 3 dogs, and she just got another adopted beautiful dog. She can tell you about that. See, you're a shero too. We're all sheros, really. This is the point of today's program. So Hillbilly Herb says, you rock, Karen. And Denise says, I'm getting teary-eyed. And Hillbilly Herb says, I used to go to a couple friends' houses for lunches. Those moms were awesome. The funny thing I just want to throw in there is I didn't get diagnosed as being autistic until very late. And like in the mid 1990s, I didn't know I was different. Like you can't tell when you're on the inside having the lived experience. And you can't tell that you're different. Like you just seem like you, right? And so I didn't find out until I was later, and the kids used to always might come home with my kids after school or at lunchtime, and they'd say, "You know what? You're completely different than my mom." And I'd say, "Well, what do you mean?" And they'd say, "You're just different. I can't explain it." And I says, "Doesn't your mom act the way I do?" "Nope, never, never seen her you do." And they all said that, and I didn't know what it meant. Like I didn't know what it meant anyway. Part of being autistic is being the last one to catch on, I guess. But yeah. So I just before we continue, I'm wondering if Jennifer or Nina, if I had cut you off, did you have more you want to say about the sheroes in your life? And I also wanted to just highlight here Hillbilly Herb, who says, "My wife is my shero. She had a really bad head injury, but she's never stopped fighting for her own recovery and pushing forward." That's the trick. Never give up. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And we send out much love to her and to you too. So, sorry. So, Nina or Jennifer, do you have anything that you wanted to add before I go on with my next experience?
Another one, but let Nina go.
Well, I don't know how far I got. My internet crapped out. It's been really wonky lately. It's weird. I've been doing this for years and years and never had an issue until lately. Everybody seems to be having issues with the internet. So I don't know what's going on, but I would almost expect it probably to go down at some point in the future here. So just have a heads up on that. Make sure you guys have stuff to entertain yourselves with.
The part we did hear was that, your parents were like my parents. They were boomers, they were partying. And if it wasn't for your grandmother and her sacrifices, you would not be as intact as you are today. And I think if I have it wrong, please correct me, but if you have anything you want to add,
a shero comes in many forms. It doesn't have to be like a superwoman or something, just somebody that's there, and to keep everything together and to try and keep some normalcy, even if it's not normal, and just feeling loved, and all that kind of stuff. So that's the thing. I think there's probably a lot more of us that are a shero than what we realize. We don't realize all the good things that we do, you know what I mean? We always tend to sort of look at all the bad things and forget about all the good. But yeah, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be here. Like my brother and I, like most people back then didn't think we were going to amount to anything. Like, you know what I mean? Most people probably would have started doing drugs and that would have been it. In our situation, yeah, both of us somehow made it, if there was such a thing. And so we got to give credit to my grandma. I'm not the only reason I see that why we're still doing so well. So yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Those are both of you, your mom and your grandma, they're definitely sheroes for sure. And then I guess the end, well, we'll talk about it at the end, but basically you're right. We can all be sheroes or heroes or sheroes with heroes. I'm not hung up on gender. You can be whatever you are. The point is we want to become the change we want to see in the world. We don't want to be like all the psychotic, what's out there. Mother weffers, I've heard them called, and I believe we're making a difference in this world. So is it okay with both of you if I get on to I'm sorry, I can't always tell if I'm interrupting. Okay. So my third story is about a woman by the name of Andrea Needham. And Andrea lived in England and she was an activist. I actually met her and heard her story firsthand. And I don't have permission to share it, but she goes around and tells her story everywhere all over the world. So I'm sure she wouldn't mind. So Andrea was part of an anti-poverty, human rights group. And let's just tell you that 25 years ago, that had a whole different meaning than it does today. It wasn't as crazy, but in some ways it was even crazier. So what Andrea and her friends did is they formed this group, and they found out that the British government was going to sell this jet to, I'm trying to remember the country, I think Taiwan. And Taiwan was at the time causing genocide in East Timor. They were just killing everyone in East Timor, and they just wanted the resources. So Andrea and her friends said, we're going to try every legal channel possible over the next year to stop the sale of this fighter jet that's going to be used to kill innocent people, not military, just innocent people in East Timor. But in the meantime, we're also going to come up with a plan. So they tried everything. They did, protesting and letter writing and phone calling and lobbying, and they tried everything. Nothing worked, nothing worked. And it was coming very close to the time where they were going to deliver this fighter jet to Taiwan. I believe it's Taiwan. I may have some of my facts wrong, but I'm pretty sure I got it close to right. You guys can Google her, I'm sure. And so what they did is there's a scripture in the Bible that says, roughly translated, that says, and they beat their swords into plowshares, and they didn't take up arms anymore. So basically what that means is there would be a future time where we would no longer be using weapons. We would be beating them into plowshares or changing their purpose so that they could be used for growing food or for peaceful processes. So they decided they would go in, break in, and they had a whole year to plan it. And they would disable this fighter jet with hammers because they're beating a sword into a plowshare by making it useless. And they got in and they went in and they actually completely smashed the inside of this fighter jet. So it was useless. And then for 2 years, her and her friends were going to court because they got charged, of course. And they were found not guilty. And the English courts actually created a new law called the plowshare clause, because she and her friends were trying to prevent a crime, out and out trying to prevent a crime. And they did it the only way they knew how. And the British government actually ended up creating a law that says that if you are destroying military equipment for peaceful reasons, you can't be charged for it. Now, I don't know with the WEF if they changed that or not, but that's how it was at the time. And so then Andrea spent the rest of her life going around the world explaining to people it's not hopeless, it's not useless. You got to stand up for what you know to be right and take the risk. Something bad might happen to you, but at the same time, that we are the change we need to see in the world. So I just thought I'd tell you about, she's not really my friend, but I met her, Andrea Needham. I think it's Needham, out of England, if you want to look up her story. And so I thought that was pretty inspiring.
Yeah, good for her.
That's amazing.
Changed. Yeah, that's good. No, that's good.
Yeah, Chris should have her on his show. Maybe you too, Nina. I don't know, because she's fascinating.
Yeah.
And we tend to think that, oh no, we can't do anything. Government's too powerful. This, that, but we actually can. Anyway, I want this to stay. I want this to stay up on YouTube, so I'm not going to get into any more details. But I wanted to tell you about that one too. So. Social justice, but it was not like it is today, where you have all these different factions going out protesting and fighting each other, and it wasn't like that then. Back then it was simpler.
Yeah, I know. I just came to me now a hilarious story. I guess it's the SHEROES story. Locally here to me in my little town, I'm about a 45-minute drive outside of Vancouver on a good day if there's no rush hour. If it's
Yeah.
rush hour, it's probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. It takes my son now to get to work. But anyway, it's a small town outside of Vancouver. There's a woman here, and she's still alive today. Her name is Linda Meyer, and she liked to go topless around town. Yeah, she likes going topless, especially in the parks or the pool. You go to the public pool, she'll be in the hot tub there with no bra on, and that kind of thing. Anyways, we just thought it was hilarious. But she actually went to court and have changed the rules that in my little town here, we are allowed to go topless.
Nice.
She was able to change the law, because in Europe we go topless all the time. It's you're in your backyard, you don't have a top on, you go to the
Oh,
beach.
it's a great way to garden.
Very
Yeah.
common, right? But here in North America, ooh, boobs, that's a very scary thing apparently. So but yeah, so technically I could be walking around here topless right now if I wanted to, but not that we ever do. Nobody
We'll have to
does.
do a show on that.
Oh my good. Can you imagine
Totally
live
can.
streaming topless? Hey guys, how's it going?
Actually, I always told my kids, if God wanted you to run around bare naked, you would have been born that way.
Well,
Now, at my age, I might scare somebody if they saw me running around
well,
naked.
that's
But
me too.
I
I'm
have no
not. Yeah.
I
problem
feel
with
that.
that.
It's not so bad when you're 16 and you're, all tight and perky, but yeah, later on.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is amazing. Actually, I'm not
Yeah.
sure which provinces, but 3 or 4 provinces in Canada, it's actually legal to go topless. But I wouldn't do it because I don't know how to say this delicately. There's a lot of pervs out there, just
Well,
plain pervs, and I don't want anyone putting, that thought into anyone's head, and you know what I'm saying. I'm not just going to
yeah.
stop right there because I don't have a
Yeah.
good way of saying
Well,
it.
mind you, the thing is that we all did it. The pervert thing would go away because all of a sudden it's like, oh, we see them all the time. Oh, not a big deal. You know what I mean? It's because it's hidden. They're like, ooh, we must see, So,
Mhm.
there's that. But yeah.
Well, I was a breastfeeding mother, so I got that all the time, and this is 40 years ago, where people thought I was some kind of pervert, and I'm thinking,
Mhm.
they're boobs, get over it, they're just boobs.
That's literally what they're for. Yeah, I know,
That's
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah. So, I have one more story, but I don't want to share it if either of you have something you want to share.
you go
I
ahead,
have
Jen.
one more.
Okay, let's hear it, Jennifer.
I'd have to say my great aunt was one of my sheroes. She was wonderful. She lived a couple of blocks from her sister, my grandmother, so she was like a second grandmother to me. But she did something that just wasn't done in her time. She got married very young, 18 years old, and it turned out that she had made a misjudgment and ended up marrying an alcoholic that she didn't know at the time. And he was very abusive, and she, like I said, just not done at the time. She decided that she didn't want to put up with that. So she went and filed for divorce, which this was in the early 1900s, and she just was ostracized really for making the decision to do that. But she didn't care. She didn't care. She wanted her female family members, the younger ones in the family, to know that they had the right to stand up for themselves and that no one had the right to treat them like poo poo. And so she got divorced as penance for that societally. She never remarried. She never had children. But what she did do was travel the world, and she changed things everywhere she went. She stood up for women's rights. She imbued in me a pride in being female, of which, I mean, you guys probably know this, but from a very young age, we're taught to be quiet,
Mhm.
be seen, not heard.
Mhm.
Keep your knees together.
Keep your knees together. Keep your thoughts to yourself. Your opinion really doesn't matter. And it's subtle, but it's an undercurrent we all pick up on. And she was the one to stand up and go, no, no, be loud, be proud, be opinionated, and share your story. So she gave me my sense of adventure and my sense of standing up despite everyone else telling you to sit there. And for that,
Wonderful.
I'll always be grateful.
Yeah. Yeah, that is beautiful. And I'm sure she got called all kinds of things and socially stigmatized and God knows what, for standing up for herself. And so it's hard to stand up for yourself. I don't like conflict. I'm like a horse. I run away, and I'm really good at just easing my way out of social situations that are uncomfortable and not repeating them. I'm a bit of a coward when it comes to dealing with humans. So
Yeah. It's funny how
yeah.
the whole divorce thing, you would think that now after the 60s, we had the women's liberation, we got all this stuff, but still, I felt it too. Like my aunt and uncle in Norway, like they were all, sending things and everything was great until I got divorced. And all of a sudden you get cut off. Oh, they don't even want to talk to you. You get divorced. And so that's still happening, I was going to say even to me, but I mean, that is 30 years ago. But yeah, like, it's like, all of a sudden you get divorced and you're nothing now and the kids don't mean anything. Like it's the whole, like, wow, like holy smokes. It really shows them, what they're all about, honestly, or more so than anything else, like, yeah, it's just weird how that whole
Yeah.
opinion on divorce it still goes on today. It wasn't that long ago since we were allowed to vote. It wasn't that long ago since we were not allowed to talk in church at all. Like really, like it wasn't that long ago. Like we're
Yeah.
sitting here thinking that, oh, we're so liberated, but really, for how long? That was 5 minutes ago. Okay, so I'm in a big blurb of it. So we got a ways to
Mhm.
go still, but at least we're on the right direction, anyways.
I hope
So
so.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
I
May,
think.
she was one to stand up and go, you know what? I have an opinion. And I really
Mm,
don't care what your opinion is about that.
mhm.
Yeah.
And she did not shy away whatsoever, and she traveled the world doing it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Reminds me of, did you ever see the movie called Anti-Mame? There was actually two versions of it, one with Lucille Ball and another one with Rosalind Russell called Anti-Mame, Mame. And that's what it's about. It's about a woman with big balls who chose alternative life, but a heart of gold. And she ended up raising her grandson and traveling all around the world with him. It's an awesome movie. I highly recommend it. I just want to quickly acknowledge Hillbilly Herb, because although we're putting all of this in sort of a female context, Hillbilly Herb has a very good point. Male, but I was definitely raised that way, to be seen and not heard. Be quiet. Your opinion doesn't matter. I was basically a fashion accessory meant to
Mhm.
make other people look good. And Denise says, Herb, me too. And Herb, who is obviously a very compassionate and empathetic soul, says, that sucks. I'm really sorry. We got the nicest community on my channel, guys. I mean, I know that other channels have good communities too, but I got to tell you, I'm going to be on Chris's show, I think the first week in January, and I'm going to really talk about my community. I've never seen anything like it. So the first way that talking about sheroes and heroes, the first way that my community here is so awesome is nobody expects other people to think the way they do.
Mhm.
So whether it's my guest, whether it's someone in the live chat, everybody's respectful. Nobody says, nope, that's not right. ET told me to do it this way, or there's none of that. People just respect other people's ways of
Mhm.
knowing, ways of being. And so the community is growing in the most lovely way. I've only ever had one deadbeat on once, and he was gone. And the
Mhm.
rest has been absolutely lovely, lovely community. So those out there who are not just looking for some interesting podcasts to watch, but you also want to be involved in the live chat so you can be actually physically and mentally and spiritually part of the community. I really recommend people to start coming in and watching the lives. So we got a few more minutes. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Nina or Jennifer, before I just quickly rattle off my last experience?
Yeah, I just want to go back to what he was saying. It was women and children, I guess, were suppressed.
Mhm.
Children were supposed to be seen and not heard and all this. And it was very suppressed, like for a
Yeah.
long, long, long time. So it's embedded into our DNA, I think, that, mind you, you can look at today's society with the children, how we've gone too far the other way now, maybe. So where the discipline has gone away. See, that's the thing. We tend to go one to the extreme. The pendulum keeps going instead of it just settling sort of in the
Yeah.
middle there. You know what I mean? So there's
Yeah.
that, but that's a whole nother podcast. But yeah, no, it's, yeah. Anyways, I'll let Jennifer talk.
Oh, I didn't have any more stories, so
Oh.
you go ahead.
That's okay. If you have an opinion or anything, just jump right in. I wanted to mention Hillbilly Herb said, "Sorry, don't mean to derail." Hillbilly Herb, you are not derailing. Everything you say is relevant and on point, and I really appreciate you being here and for taking the risk to be honest and to share your innermost thoughts with the live chat and with the show. I think you're awesome. Thank you.
And being the
And
only male that's chiming in. So that's kind of nice
That's
too.
right.
So
very awesome. And Denise says, great show, Nina and Jennifer, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely agree with that. So I'm going to just quickly rattle off. And my last story is about me. I'm my own shero, although sometimes I forget that. So I'm not going to tell you the backstory. If the people in the audience want to hear it, I'd be happy to do it, but it would take a whole show because it's a fairly long story. But basically, I ended up in the hospital and I was supposed to get a very minor repair, incisional hernia repair. Long story short, I know it's probably TMI, but there you have it. So I went in to have this repair, and the doctor who did the surgery did it wrong, ended up puncturing my digestive system in a whole lot of places. And then was mad at me for some reason. They found something in there he didn't expect. I don't even really know the details. Sorry, I'm trying to make it short. So long story short, I'm in the hospital and I'm not thriving and I'm not doing very good. And they noticed that my oxygen levels were super low and they couldn't figure anything out. The doctor would come in and he refused to examine me. And I knew something was wrong. And I had the physical evidence, which I'm not going to share because it's kind of gross. To tell him. So a week later, I'm dying. I'm in the hospital. No, I have not had proper care. That's what it's like in Canada, guys. Everyone goes, "Oh, you're so lucky you have free health care." Yeah, but it's shit. So I think somewhere in between the States and Canada would be a good system. But anyway, so they rushed me in, emergency surgery, 5 hours. I was dying on the table. So that's all they could do. They couldn't fix it. And then they had to put me on a bunch of experimental drugs. I'm skipping a whole bunch, guys, because I don't want it to be too long or too upsetting to hear this. But to make a long story short, my body filled up with 80 pounds of my own waste material because they kept trying to make me eat and drink and get up and walk around. And well, if you didn't stay in bed all day, you'd feel better and all this other jazz. 80 pounds. And my lung cavity filled up with fluid so that my lungs couldn't inflate and I couldn't breathe. And I was oxygen deprived for over a week. And by this time, I couldn't think, I couldn't function anymore. And anyway, obviously, they saved my life, but it never should have been left to that. So I had very severe brain injury. Now, before I went in and had that surgery, I actually used to do Sudoku. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's very mentally challenging. It has to do with numbers, and I was pretty good at it. And I used to start it at beginner, and I worked my way all the way up to advanced. So I was doing advanced Sudokus. My brain was firing on all cylinders before I went in the hospital. When I got out of the hospital, couldn't read. I couldn't do any kind of math. I couldn't understand things like contracts, nothing like that. And I had nobody to help me. And I also was super poor and didn't have any money. And so I couldn't really afford to go and see an alternative practitioner to find out what I could do to heal myself. And things were really, really bad. And this is embarrassing for me to admit, but I've really struggled with this podcast, learning how to do the thumbnails, learning how to invite people, scheduling, processing the videos. I do everything myself, and it's been really hard, but I've stuck with it, stuck with it, stuck with it, and I've gotten to the point where I'm at right now. But this is kind of sad, but true, because you can't tell by watching my show. But only 2 weeks ago, I went out and bought myself some Sudoku books. And I made sure I had the very easy, and then the easy, and then the medium. I couldn't do any of the very easy, none of it. That part of my brain still doesn't work. And so it makes all kinds of challenges in my life that I would not normally expect. But get a load of this. So 2 weeks ago, I'm doing these very easy Sudokus, and I can't get any of them right. It's just a big mess, no matter how hard I try. And then I was just going to throw them in the garbage. And a voice, I have these guides, right? These invisible spirit guides. And I know people, it doesn't matter if you believe me or not, but I know I've got them. And they said, just keep doing it. And your brain is going to lay out new neural pathways that weren't there before. And then you will be able to do it. And I went, yeah, right. And then I went, well, let's just try it. So I know I'm a little bit disrespectful to my guides sometimes. And so I started keep doing it every day, 2-3 hours, 3 days, 2 weeks ago. So about 3 days ago, I could do it. Can't explain how I could do it, but I could do it. I'm also still working on my reading, and that's why it was so hard for me to publish my book, because it was so hard for me to concentrate and get the grammar done and all of that. It was very challenging. But I guess what I'm trying to say is not to brag, but to say that I have to remember that I am also my own shero. The things I've come through in my life, raising my kids, a single parent, having to deal with poverty, having to deal with all kinds of health issues. And then, of course, and it was right after I graduated with a university degree, which I didn't go to school till I was 45. And I got my degree in social work. And then I have this brain thing, I have this botched surgery, and I have all the recovering from that. So it's like, I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying I'm still working on my reading. I'm still working. I was thinking of maybe taking a course in high school math to try to get my number working again. I still can't read contracts. There's lots of things I can't do, but I just fake it. I just fake it till I make it. I don't tell anybody. I don't complain about it. I just get my feet in. There's like diving off the high dive, and well, we'll just see where it takes us. And so, not to brag, but not to complain either, just letting you know that in my own life, I have to remember, Karen, look what you've done in your life. Oh my God, you need to inspire yourself. There's no need to feel like you're less than. You are just as good as everybody else. And here I have a podcast. I actually have 3 podcasts now. I'm part of Forbidden Knowledge Network. I'm friends with Nina and Jennifer. I'm friends with all these amazing people in the live chat. My life has never been better. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Well, there you go.
Too much.
Yeah, there you go.
You're my hero too, Karen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Billy Herb
that's
says
great.
lion's mane mushrooms can lay down new neural and psilocybin. Actually, funny, you should mention this, Hillbilly Herb. I'm actually going to start microdosing in January. Yeah, with I'm going to do the stem and stack, which is with the non-psilocybin mushrooms, very low dose psilocybin, and I think B6. And I'm going to do that in January and see what I can do.
He's
fix it.
absolutely right. The lion's mane coupled with CoQ10 will
Yeah.
form more neurological connections between your neurons and your brain and help. It basically sets you up with the same type of um, connections that you get when you learn your ABCs. So, nobody ever forgets their ABCs, right? Unless you have a brain injury or something. But it's because we're taught in many, many ways. So it makes multiple connections between them. So if you lose one, you don't lose the ability to remember your ABCs. It's the same way with lion's mane and CoQ10. If you take them together, you get a foundation and more connections so that you can retrieve that information even if one connection goes bad.
Wonderful. Yeah, actually, your husband, Chris, has been a great inspiration to me, with his journey. I've known him now for, I think, since I think 2020, I guess 5 years now, I've known him now. Yeah. And just following his journey has been fantastic. So,
There's a lot of new supplements now. I I looked at some of them. I'm like, oh, I just can't afford it. They're really, really like the NAD or whatever. So all this stuff that
NAC.
NAC. Yeah, I take
Yeah,
that one.
I take NAC, and I just started taking um uh
I
it's
think this one is NAD, NAD. I think it's
NAD.
called. It's
Okay.
supposed to have something to do with your telomeres. It's supposed to, help repair all this kind of stuff, and it's supposed to be really good for aging. So, brain activity and all this stuff. But it's super expensive, so I haven't
Yeah.
started. But I do take the Q10, and the lion's mane, as far as I know, is fairly reasonable herb to take.
Yeah.
So I might actually look into taking that, because
And I'm
yeah, if there's
taking
something simple like that you can do to try and keep your brain going, and 'cause
yeah.
it's hard when you get older, like especially once you retire and you're not working anymore.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
boy, it's
Karen says Sudoku. Do Sudoku.
Sudoku, yeah. I mean, yeah,
Well, it's
crosswords,
challenging.
and stuff.
It was.
I'm also taking glycine. Glycine is an amino acid, and so I do supplement. I supplement quite a bit because
Yeah,
I'm
so do
I'm
I.
I'm on a healing journey. I'm healing my brain and I'm healing my body and I'm healing. And it's the strangest thing because in less than 2 months I'm going to be 70 years old. 70.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You look.
yeah.
You don't
Uh,
look like Karen, so there you
Oh,
go.
thank you. And everybody I meet that's around my age, they got their bags of pills, they're sick, they're in horrible physical condition. They're not interested in becoming the change they want to see in the world. They just want to go to the casino, whatever, whatever. And I'm like going in the opposite direction where I'm getting healthier and somehow better and with my brain and everything. Oh, I don't know. I guess I'm not convincing anyone here, but Denise says I do puzzles every day. Yeah, I also picked up some crosswords and some
Crosswords,
word
puzzles.
searches and I'm telling you guys, I'm going to confess how horrible I am. My favorite thing in the whole world is to be tucked into big soft plush blankets on my bed with my two kitties sleeping there, and I'm listening to something really boring but interesting to me, like quantum physics, or I like educational stuff that I don't have to watch. It's just two old guys talking usually, right? And I'm gleaning all this good stuff, and I'm sitting there doing my Sudoku or my word search, and I'm so happy. I've never been so happy in all my life. So just,
Well, there
I
you
know it
go.
sounds
And
weird, but
that's the thing that I think people need to realize too, that you can be your own shero. Just don't give up. Even if life throws you lemons, you make that lemonade and you just keep going. You know what I mean? Don't give up because the doctor said this or the neighbor said that or whatever. You know what I mean? Just keep going, guys. You are your own shero.
I have to agree. And unless you decide to be your own hero, honestly, you're probably not going to get saved anyway.
No, nobody's coming to save us. That's the problem. It's not a problem. That's the fact.
I
That's what a
went
lot
through
of
some discussions.
communities are sitting there, and the UFO community is the same way. They're sitting there waiting for the UFO. So it's no different than the religious communities who are waiting for their Messiah.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell you, but yeah, no, nobody's coming to save us. We are our own
Yeah,
heroes here. It's our own
we
savior.
are.
So,
We are. We
you
are.
know,
Yeah, I
Yep.
went through a similar thing with Karen where I got very, very ill about 20 years ago, and the doctors put me through such hell that they
Mhm.
almost killed me with their medicine. Uh,
Mhm.
and I had a dream one night, and it was my guides going, "Hey, you've got this, and you need to get off of all of this stuff." It was my bag of pills,
Me too.
and I did. I woke up the next morning. I called my doctor. I said, "You're taking me off of everything because this is killing me. This is worse than the actual disease." And it was
Yeah.
autoimmune. And so
Yeah.
12 years of research later, uh, my functional medicine doctor was like, "You're no longer considered immunodeficient because,
Awesome.
you
good
know,
for you.
and you
Yeah.
learn how."
Give the body what it needs and it heals. Just like the
Yes,
planet. The planet heals. I cut my finger 2 weeks ago. It's healed.
there
We heal.
That's
Mhm.
it. That's it. And you really have to want to be your own advocate, your own hero, and you have to question everything that they're telling you to do. And generally, I needed to do the opposite of what they were telling me to do.
Me
And
too.
it was crazy. And like you, I just got off of everything and I decided to go the natural route. And here I am 20 years later. They told me I'd be in a wheelchair in a year and a half. And 20 years later, I'm climbing the mountain outside my house. So and now I teach doctors how to heal themselves. I had neurologists that had the same MS condition. And I'm like,
Mhm.
you don't have to keep that, right? Like you can heal your immune system. And they're
Mhm.
like, what? I said, well, let me teach that, so now I have doctors that come in and are like, how do I fix myself? I'm like, you guys don't
Fantastic.
learn how to cure or fix, heal anything. You learn
No,
how to make customers
yeah,
out of your patients.
yeah, no, it's in their best interest to keep you sick because,
Yes,
I mean, just,
yes.
yeah, no, I sort of had the same thing too. I was born with scoliosis, and long story
Oh
short,
dear.
I
Yeah.
was in hairdressing school. Oh my gosh, I ended up working as a shampoo girl while I was pregnant. That was the biggest problem. So I was molding my back crooked while I had the scoliosis. Anyway, so I went to hairdressing school, and yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do. I went to the chiropractor, that kind of helped, and whatever. But the doctor just give me pills. And
Mhm.
back then, I used to get samples. I had, and I never took pills. I don't know why. Never been a fan of the pills. Never. So I would take the pills. I take the prescription. I never fill it out, or if I do fill it out, I never take them. But anyways, he used to give me samples of these Vioxx. I think it was called anti-inflammatory
I
something or
remember that.
other,
Mhm.
right? And I just had them I had a huge big garbage bag full of these things that I actually ended up giving away to somebody, which I feel bad about now. But anyways, I never took them. And sure enough, a couple of years later, they got recalled. Oh, really, really bad for you, strokes, death and all this kind of stuff. So I asked my doctor, I'm like, I'm sure glad I didn't take this. I guess if I had it, I wouldn't be here now. And he agreed with me. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So, you really can't trust what these guys are saying or giving you, because I hate to tell you, but most of that stuff that they're prescribing, the only reason they're prescribing is because the rep was just in a couple of days ago who told them that about this new great thing that they have, you see. And if you subscribe that to them, you're going to get a kickback, you see. And
Yes.
this is what it's
Exactly.
happening.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to
Yeah.
hear a $300,000 education is worthless.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
They're not really, and they don't pay attention to interactions with medicines either. They just, because I used to work in the healthcare, I used to be a caregiver, and we had to put clients on detox because the doctor would give you something and they never took you off of it. So
Mhm.
clients were on so many different medications that, and
Mhm.
I'm not even a nurse. And I could try to figure out, like, this doesn't look good. This shouldn't be with this and that. And we had to put them in rehab, and to
Mhm.
get them off all these things, trying to, like, yeah, because the doctors don't think ahead. They're just another script for this, another script for that, and but continue on with the other stuff, and it's like,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Yeah, it's really harsh, and you can't go in and be honest with them,
no, they
because
just look at you
then they
funny.
think I'm disrespectful. I
Yeah.
want to just give a quick shout out to Kristen. Kristen, thank you so much for your very, very generous super chat. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. None of you guys, I don't expect any of you to spend any money here. I'm just grateful you're here and part of the community. You're all very, very lovely. But for those that do or are able to help out financially, it really makes a big difference. So whether it's a channel membership or a super chat now and again, if you can afford it. But I know food is super expensive, rent, heating yourself in the wintertime, and on it goes. So I don't expect it, but I want to thank you so much. Kristen, you've been very good to me and very good to the channel, and I want to thank you so much. And Kristen says, love this community. Yeah, we love you too. You're part of this. So we're quickly actually a little bit past time. So I want to give Jennifer and Nina a chance to talk about what they're doing. I know Jennifer, you and Chris are planning on doing another documentary. Nina, you've just joined the Forbidden Knowledge Network. You're doing shows with Robert. So when are your shows? What time? When should people come check you out? Same with you, Jennifer. Anything you want to say would be now is a good time. How about you start, Nina?
Yeah, so I'm basically continuing on with what I have been doing. I got my Sunday show at 6 o'clock Pacific time show. The only difference is that we're branching out to the podcast world. So, because I've actually had people ask, are you on the podcast? And I'm like, no, so now I will be, and on all of them, apparently, it goes straight to all of them. So if you guys are interested in listening, because I realize that a lot of people don't have time for YouTube, they'd rather just listen while they're driving, or maybe while you're cleaning, or whatever it is that you're doing. You now have that option. So go and check us out over there. It's called Beyond Truth with Nina and Robert over on the Forbidden Knowledge Network on the podcast there. And then YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. The easiest way to remember is just at Nina the Mystic 68. That's my handle name on all those platforms. And once you're in there, you'll get links to all the other platforms, because I'm on pretty much anything that you can think of. I'm on there, and there's links for ways to support. I do have a merch store if you are interested in supporting us and getting a one-of-a-kind item in there. And so, yeah, go and check us out.
Awesome. And Jennifer, what are you up to? And tell us about your new dog. I think because you shared that before we went live.
Oh, yeah. Well, these days I am spending most of my time helping Chris filming this third film we have out. The first two, called Louisiana and oh no, I'm having
Doors of Perception.
Doors of Perception. Yes, thank you, Karen. They're already out there. You can find those on Tubi and Amazon. This third one, we're going to do a little something different, and we're going to do a mockumentary. So if you guys want to laugh,
Awesome.
we got you. So that's always fun. I do take on clients from time to time. If you want to find me at jenniferhalcame@gmail.com, or you can find me at Jennifer Halcame on Facebook, and you're more than welcome to message me. I love helping people identify their hurdles to becoming their best self. Sometimes you need a little objective person outside of you that can go, hey, that's the issue right there. Let's fix that, and then you're good, kind of thing. Or help explaining things that I had someone tell me, you just explained to me in 15 minutes what it took my therapist 3 years. I said, yeah, but I'm not charging by the hour, and kind of thing. But yeah, check out all of our stuff on the Forbidden Knowledge Network. Our podcast network has a bunch of shows, including Nina just joined us. So thank you, Nina, and we're happy to have you. as well as, anything else you want to be curious about, conspiracy theories, UFOs, or spiritualism, or, there's lots of different alternative things to watch on there.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So that's about it for today. I do have one announcement. Next week, on Sunday for the Aliens and Angels podcast, my guest is Peter Maxwell Slattery. And Peter is in Australia. So we're going to do the show 2 hours later to accommodate him. So usually Aliens and Angels starts at noon Mountain Time or 11 a.m. Pacific. But next Sunday, it's going to actually start at 2 p.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Pacific, and 5 p.m. Eastern. So I just wanted y'all to be aware about the time change. It was just so that we could accommodate him. And probably from now on, when I have my friends from that part of the world, Elsa Dillon's another one I have on the show quite often. I'm going to start doing them at 2 p.m. because I don't think it's fair to expect them to get up and do a show at 4 a.m. So we're going to do it a little bit later and let them have a bit more sanity in their meetup time with us. So that's about it for today. I want to thank you all for being here. Absolute pleasure to host the show. I want to thank Nina and Jennifer for almost a whole year of input and really good content that you've added to the Mystical Mothers. Um, sorry, getting tired. Channels. Yes, I do appreciate you both very, very much. And all the links are below, so I'm going to recommend that everybody go and check out their offerings. And I guess that's it. So thank you again. Thank you for Kristen for your very generous super chat. Thank you for everyone for joining us today. And we'll see you next week on Quantum Guide Show, or maybe 2 o'clock on Sunday if you'd like to come and watch the Aliens and Angels podcast. And that's it for today. So we'll say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
And take care and have the best week ever. And appreciate your SHEROES, especially the ones within. Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional: Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available in Amazon bookstores worldwide. Check out my website at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.